Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this afternoon, Logan Landers, and join me here today to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles 2024 team preview. Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing this afternoon, sir?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Logan Landers?
I'm doing good today, sir. Excited to talk about these Eagles and how they're going to look this upcoming season. So, last year, as we know, with Philadelphia, they finished with a record of 11-6. We do know that also the second half of the season was just really odd for them. It was team kind of split in two, and just a kind of a weird year for Eagles fans out there. But when you look at this team, obviously you're going to go to Jalen Hurts first and foremost. What can he do this upcoming year? How can he help his team out even more? I mean, we know what the young man did last year: 3,858 yards, 23 touchdowns, 15 INTs. Got to get that cut down on just a little bit if they want to get things a little bit better this year and get back to the promised land. As we know, Hurts can also get it done with his legs a little bit. 157 on the ground for him. But we know that they had that famous tush push, and they were really getting him up there. That's why he had 15 touchdowns on the ground last season for the year. So we'll see if the two-way threat can still be there for Jalen Hurts, because this team looks a little bit different this year. I'll get into that in just a moment. Running back room, that is obviously going to be looking a little bit different. You brought over Saquon Barkley, man who is leaving the Giants, coming over to Philadelphia, who last year, and we saw that when he's healthy, he can get things done with the best of them once again. Heavy workload, 247 in terms of carries, close to 1,000 yards, finished with 962, and got 6 touchdowns on the team for New York last year. Averaged 3.9 per rush there. See if I can get a little bit better this year, but I'm expecting big things from Saquon Barkley and also the rest of that running back room there with Kenny Gainwell, guy out of Memphis from a couple of seasons ago they drafted. Wide receiving corps, we know this is looking good here. You got guys like A.J. Brown and, of course, Devontae Smith. Those are your big two there. How can they play off each other this past year? They looked really good. A.J. Brown put up really good stats, 106 catches, close to 1,500 yards, 7 TDs for him. And then we go to Devontae Smith, former Heisman winner. He had 81 grabs for over 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. Still getting things rolling in this league, but best believe he is still looking sharp. And I expect him to have another solid season there. You also have guys like Paris Campbell and Johnny Wilson, as well as Britton Covey, helping out the rest of your team in terms of your wide receivers and in your tight end as well. We're looking at Dallas Goedert, guy who's been a kind of a staple player for a couple of seasons now since he was drafted. Always seems to be around the ball, 59 grams, 592, and 3 touchdowns for him. Expect similar results this upcoming year. Of course, you got C.J. Uzoma behind him looking solid there. But Vincent, what I really want to talk about this team is the offensive line. Because as we know, that anchor, Jason Kelce, he is no longer on the team. He has decided to step away from the game of football, announce his retirement this past year. And how can this team bounce back? How can they rally, per se, with this team? When you look at guys, you look at guys like Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, who's been there for a while as well, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and, of course, big vet there, and Lane Johnson really, I think, is going to step up in place of what happened there with Jason Kelce retiring. Of course, you have a solid backup as well with Mekhi Becton, Dylan McMahon, as well as Darian Kennard. So it's going to be interesting, though. But I expect this Eagles team to look sharp on offense, Vincent. They might take a little bit a step back or so in terms of their production, just because we're going to wait and see how the O-line can click and connect. And we'll see what they can do. But I'm expecting solid things from Saquon Barkley year one with the new squad. And I think Jalen Hurts is also going to have another really solid year. I expect some good things from those receivers as well. That's a deadly 1-2 punch there in Brown and Smith. So I think this Eagles offense looks primed for a really good 2024 season. What's your thoughts on the defense?
I'm going to say this, Mr. Landers. Clearly, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they clearly has the best talent in the division. Last year, they were 11-1, and the wheels came off. I'm still trying to figure out what happened to that football team. Really, that team was headed to be in a Super Bowl contender again. And they got everything in place. When you're talking about from an offense and defensive standpoint, this is a team that's drafted real well, and it's drafted players from programs that's won championships. What was disappointing with the Eagles last year, A lot of people want to say, well, Jalen Hurts might have took a step back. He might have regressed. But at the end of the day, it was the defense that let him down, Mr. Landers. They were 30th in points allowed, 31st in giving up touchdown passes. And I'm trying to figure out, even though Fletcher Cox has retired in offseason, one of their best defensive players the last 10 years with the Eagles organization, how do you got players like Jalen Carter, Jordan Daniels, Darius Slay, James Bradbury? What I'm trying to figure out what happened there, man. I'm really trying to figure out, how did your defense become that poorly last year, especially down the stretch? But you're looking at this defense, man, I think it has the opportunity to be one of the top 5 defenses in the game. Bryce Huff, who they brought over from the Jets, had 10 sacks last year. University of Memphis, the 901 in the house. Josh Sweat out of Florida State. Brother, you need to take your game to another level. Brandon Graham, probably the biggest re-signing that they had in the last few years, because he's a guy that's been on that Super Bowl team. He knows what to do. He's a guy that obviously the teammates respect. I like him coming back. But the 2 disappointments, matter of fact, I'm going to hate to say this, Logan, because you're a University of Georgia fan.
Yes, sir.
Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. Elite potential, but haven't done nothing. Last year was a disappointment. Nolan Smith, University of Georgia, it's time to step up. All you dogs that want to eat and say that you need to eat, when you came out of University of Georgia and you won a national championship, it's time for you to eat with the defense. That's you, Nolan Smith. That's you, Jalen Carter. That's you, Jordan Daniels. Because if you don't, some people are going to get fired. The linebacker position. That was the only weak link the Eagles defense had last season. But I like what they done. They brought Devin White from Tampa Bay, LSU over. Give him a 1-year deal. A tackling machine. 83 tackles last year. They drafted Jeremiah Trotter Jr. out of Clemson. Dabo Swinney, I know you're proud. I thought that young man would go a little bit higher in the draft. But you know what that means? Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is going to be starting. That means Nakobe Dean, another Georgia product, out of Horn Lake, Mississippi, which is 20 miles from my hometown, Memphis, Tennessee. Your job is on the line. You need to get healthy. In the secondary, Darius Slay, I know you're 33 years old, outstanding player out of Camden County, Georgia. Tremendous football player at Mississippi State, been a great pro in this league. Come on, man. Y'all gave up the most touchdown passes in the game last year. Then James Bradbury. What happened to you, my brother? What happened to you? You took a step back. That's why the Eagles are not going to wait on y'all. That's why they took the young man out of Toledo, Mr. Mitchell. That's why they took the young man, Mr. DeJean, out of Iowa. And that's why they brought C.J. Gardner-Johnson back. Logan, this is a very talented football team, man. When you look at this team up and down, offensively and defensively, they got players that's played at a high level, man, that's won championships. This team got to the Super Bowl year before last, and they was a Super Bowl team last year. I'm just want to ask a question today here with Eagle Nation. Did Nick Sirianni lose the locker room last year? What happened? And another key point I want to bring up, Jalen Hurts. What happened to your leadership last year? Because obviously A.J. Brown didn't like what you were saying or doing on the field. It was just too much talking going back and forth. Fletcher Cox is not there, and Jason Kelce is not there. Jalen Hurts and the Georgia Bulldogs on defense, the season rests on y'all, man, how good this Eagles football team is going to be. That's all I have to say today. Giving it back to you, the very talented Mr. Logan Landers.
Yes, sir, Mr. Turner. I appreciate it. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting potentially sink or swim type of year for Philadelphia, a team who we said last year looked poised to get that Lombardi trophy. Unfortunately, did not pan out. Very weird into the season, as the fans know, but they're hoping come out with a clean slate here in 2024. A couple of additions, couple of subtractions on their team, but we will see how this Philadelphia team does here in just a little while with kickoff right around the corner. Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, it is a pleasure, as always, talking about the Philadelphia Eagles, talking football with you. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Once again, guys, if you enjoy the episode, like, follow, share, and subscribe on Facebook and YouTube. And also be sure to go download our podcast every single week. Until next time, go watch some game film, and we'll see you on another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio.